But first, our next guest comes up, Shayne Williams.
Racing. Flying out, Rex Hunter led 2 lengths. West on Odie's down the outside from Ripon Tomahawk, who landed close. Then Stanger Fire. Well back is Sunset Mirage. Startup Ando, Disco Daisy Robotnik. But it's Ripon Tomahawk. The old boy hit the lead, and they've got no hope of catching this. Ripon Tomahawk's too strong for Rex Hunter. Sunset Mirage, then Stanger Fire. Startup Ando.
There's Ripon Tomahawk's win. Shayne Williams joins us to talk about that and plenty more. Good morning, Shane Trade.
Yeah, good morning, boys. How are we today?
Going beautifully, thank you, Train, and no doubt that replay would put a smile to your face. He's been a genuine favourite in your kennel, Ripon Tomahawk, and he's getting on a little now. He's actually nominated to go around in a veterans race on Tuesday night. He'll take a little bit of beating there, but to front up and take out the feature race on Friday there at Mandurah against a high-quality opposition would have been one that you would have gone home and celebrated.
Yeah, he's just been an iron dog for the kennel, Shorty. He always gives his best out there, and I watched the replay a few times, and even the presentation. You're watching him up there, and he's so proud of himself. The tail's wagging, and it was just good to see the old boy pick up a little minor feature at the end of his career.
Start number 120, if you don't mind. So certainly knows his way around the track, but now 19 wins, 26 second, 19 third. Just such a consistent record, and I don't know, he's not going to his absolute peak right now, and you wouldn't expect to be at 4, but he's not a whole way away from it.
It's quite funny, Shorty. We actually talked about it last night at Kennington with the girls. I think his best ever time at Kennington's 29.86, and before the heats of them Express Stake heats, he went 30 dead there, so getting beat. Just pipped on the post there by a dog. So, yeah, he's not far off it, and just always puts his hand up, Shorty. He's very honest. He's had some good crashes in the days with dogs like Momentum and Vice Grip, and obviously we love him here, and he's probably going to have to fight to have a spot on the couch with Jumbo at the end of his career, so it'll be good.
Yeah, no doubt about that. I'm sure he'll find a way onto that couch. And this dog, there's a nice story behind the dog as well, Shane, because, of course, the late John Carmody is a man that you were involved with throughout your time in the sport, and the mother of Ripon Tomahawk, Juniper Tweedo, was actually a bitch that he raced, and you showed great faith in this bitch and purchased a couple of pups from the litter, and Ripon Tomahawk's been a mighty campaigner, and here we are, deep into his racing career, and he's still taking out feature races. Tell us a little bit about your connection with the late John Carmody. He was a great man in greyhound racing, and that's how the connection to this greyhound came about.
Yeah, it's quite a good story, Shorty. When I first started training, John and Diane gave me the mother to train, and she was really good. She was going to be really handy. She won a maiden in 30 dead at Kennington, and then at a second race start, and then we took her to Mandurah just for a trial for the Oaks. She was that good, and then unfortunately she went amiss, and I didn't know what John's plans were. He'd got out of the sport. I think they were going to stop breeding, and I said to him, John, you've got to breed out of this bitch, and if you don't, I really want to. So I think that forced his hand a bit when I showed that interest, and John and Di bred a litter. Been a wonderful litter. Granite Song, Ripon Tomahawk, Ripon Sheen, Elite Weapon. A lot of winners out of there, and she's just been a good producer. I bought the 2 pups, Ripon Sheen and Ripon Tomahawk. I bought two more pups for some friends, Elite Weapon and Little Miss Olive. So they've been a really good litter, Shorty. And she had another litter, Zach Manelli. I didn't get involved there, but Diane's racing them ones. Actually, she knocked me off the other night with one. So. She lives on the couch now at Di's place, and it's been a real good ride, the whole litter. They've been absolutely amazing for the kennel.
Now, Shane, talking about John Carmody and the Irish, is Ireland ready for you?
I hope so. Marty, you got any tips for me? Diggers try to send me in the right place. I think Temple Bar, I think they say, is not bad there. You got any tips for me, Marty?
Just hit Dublin and keep drinking Guinness. You'll be right.
I don't know how the Guinness is going to go, but we'll give it a go anyway.
They've got plenty of whiskey over there, Train. You'll be all right. Lots of the hard liquor, and just enjoy, because they're a breed that do enjoy the racing and the good times. And tell us a little bit about your trip. You're off to the races over there. You're also off to some greyhound racing. You're going to see some coursing. There's not a lot of that goes on around the world these days, but tell us a bit about who you're heading over with and what's in store over the next couple of weeks. It's a racing extravaganza.
Yeah, I think Robbie Britton's been trying to get me to go for a couple of years now, and just a few other boys, George Daly and Shane Stiff, and they sort of go every year. So this year I've sort of chimed in, and yeah, we're going to go into Dublin and then down to Clonmel for the coursing, and it's a very big event over there. It's the Irish Derby for the coursing, so also we're going to take in a horse race meeting now. I'm going to try and get at Shelbourne Park as well. I'm not sure if they'll work with the dates, but I definitely want to go and have a look at that as well. So, yeah, really looking forward to it, boys. And, people say I take a lot of holidays, get a bit of ribbon for it, but it's my first one this year.
We are 28th of January. It's only taken 28 of the best for the train to get ready to go and hit the train. Now, Marty, you, of course, joke around with Matt Young about being uncle. Well, of course, Shayne Williams and Grant Williams are now clearly relatives in the training world, no doubt about it. And Shayno's had incredible good fortune when it comes to ownership. Now, Train, tell us a little bit about your horses. You're regular there at the Williams stables, and you've had great success since getting involved in the world of thoroughbred racing. Of course, we're both involved with Keshi Boom, but you've got about another 4 or 5 or 6, and most of them have already won races. Yearling sales on just around the corner. Is this helping to fund your trip to Ireland?
Tomahawk's going to help fund a bit of that surely this year. It's been a real good experience with Grant Alana. I met Grant 2 years ago on the golf course, and we formed a syndicate, the 10 of us, all dog trainers, with the Dish Liquor Syndicate, and the 3 horses we've got involved in there have all won races. Some nice ones too. Lost City is 2 from 2. Written Melody, who Alana's got a big opinion of, and Miss Sky High. So the 3 of them have all won races for the syndicate, and I've chimed in again, and I'm up to 7 now. So I've told Grant I'm capping it at 10. So we'll see how we go this year. But yeah, no, it's been a great experience, Shorty, and Grant and Alana are both wonderful people, and just the team there is amazing. So yeah, I love it. It's a good outlet for me, and looking forward to going again this year.
I'm sure there'll be a couple with your name written on them when you arrive there at the sales. Shayne, really appreciate your time getting up early with us this morning here on The Aftermath. Congratulations on Rip and Tomahawk. I've been a big fan of this fellow from the moment he started racing, and to see him still going as a 4-year-old and taking out feature races, it's a credit to the dog and a credit to the job that you've done with him as well. And before we let you go, there's a couple of ladies in particular that you need to give a bit of a shout out to this morning, because while you're across there in Ireland swanning around having a great time, they'll no doubt be continuing to produce winners for your kennel, and it's why you can go on holidays, because you've got 2 incredible helpers that step in and do a fine job when you're away. You better give the girls a shout out this morning.
Yeah, young Gemma and Jay, and also my mate Gary. They run the show when I'm away, and probably now's the time to back them punters. They grow a leg when I go away, so get on board the next 2 weeks.
Good on you, Shayne. Good to have you on the show, and all the best over there in Ireland.
Cheers, boys. Hopefully you make it back in one piece.
Safe travels, mate.
I'm sure he will. He'll get his way around the Emerald Isle beautifully. Now, what else we have to report, Shorty? The Wildcats overnight, impressive.
Oh, very. So I was at the game on Thursday night against the Illawarra Hawks, as we discussed on Friday Drive, and I was really disappointed with the intensity that was shown by them. And I think sometimes you've just got to give credit to the opposition. I think Illawarra, the pressure they put on was outstanding. And then when you watched yesterday's game, it was almost like they just learned the lesson from that game, morphed themselves into that defensive pressure that Illawarra had. And then yesterday, this was the one game from Alex Saar where he just took the game over. From the moment he walked out on the court, his presence was phenomenal. 5 block shots. Now, a lot of good big boys in a game are lucky to get a block shot, but 5 and he played less than half in total of the game. 5 block shots, unbelievable stuff. He is a star in the making, and you can completely understand why he's touted to be the number 1 draft pick in the NBA.
103.91 was that final score. Now the Australia Stakes on yesterday at Moonee Valley.
On 3 wide, a length and a half to V8, who's nice and close, and they were followed by Zathus, Southport Tycoon, Curran and Crosshaven. Recommendation took the front before the corner at the 300 metres, kicked for home. 2 lengths in front of Struck by V8, Zathus and Southport Tycoon to the outside. Recommendation, 150 metres to go. 2 lengths in front of V8, Southport Tycoon. Recommendation folding up. V8 is gobbling it up. V8 in the middle, lifts and wins. V8 first from Southport Tycoon.
Yeah, big win there by V8. Kelvin McEvoy, co-trainer, joins us on the aftermath. Hi, Kelvin.
Good morning, guys. How are you?
Very well indeed. Thank you, Kelvin. Congratulations. Wonderful return from V8. Listening to your post-race interview, there was a little bit of travelling and a little bit of work that had to be put in by Damien Lane to go and actually ride this horse to get ready for this return. But, wow, it all paid off there yesterday. What a stunning return.
Yeah, guys, exactly right. And look, Damien Lane, he's just the ultimate professional these days. And you know, he goes the extra yard, and that's why he's riding as good as anyone in the country, I think. And look, yeah, our horse was fantastic. He went there yesterday off just one jump out. I think the second horse had 2 jump outs. I think the third horse had been racing for quite some time. So his return was very, very good, and there's plenty of improvement to come, we feel.
Yeah, wonderful return, as you say. Now, what are the short to medium term plans with this galloper?
We're going to head back to Caulfield on the 10th of February. CF4 Stakes. It's a Group 1 1400 metre race. We think that, you know, he's obviously very good at 1200. We think he's just as good at 14. So we'll give him the opportunity to win a Group 1. He'll get 2 opportunities, really, because he'll go to the Futurity a couple of weeks later. And then it'll just help determine sort of, do we go back to the mile for an Australian Guineas? Do we freshen for a Newmarket handicap? There's plenty of options for him. But, look, our main goal is to win a Group 1 with this colt and make him a stallion.
It sounds like there's a nice blank canvas there for you heading forward for the remainder of the preparation there, Calvin. It's great to have options with a horse, and the most important thing is that you see the horse back and really operating to its top ability level, and that yesterday there. To talk us through where you were at the furlong with your thought process behind it, because I think even Matty Hill in the call was kind of maybe preempting that V8 might be able to get there, but there was still a little bit of work to be done in that last 100 metres. This horse really did get into its work. Yeah,
for sure. And look, you know, I thought the map was going to probably work out better than it did, really. I thought we might be a bit closer, and they did roll along. And what Damien said after the race was that he could see Recommendation had just had it pretty easy up in front. And he had to pull our horse out and get going probably 50 to 100 metres earlier than ideal. And obviously, Moonee Valley, when you get going around that turning track, it is a big effort. And I thought if our horse was ever going to be vulnerable at the finish, it was going to be yesterday. But he did the opposite. He pinned his ears back and really put in. So really exciting. And as I said, there's plenty of improvement to come. And you know, you always want to see these 3-year-olds sort of grow up from the spring campaign to their autumn campaign, and there's no better way to return in style than for him to take on the older horses at weight for age and beat them.
So you checked on him this morning. How's he pulled up?
Yeah, really well. He's eaten up, nice and fresh, and trotting up nice and sound. So it's a good news. And look, the track was in perfect order yesterday. Marty Shortte and his team did a great job, and I'd expect most horses to pull up well from yesterday.
Yearling sales on at the moment. How's it been for your stable?
It's been really good. Yeah, the Gold Coast was fantastic. It is a sale that we've had plenty of success out of, and you know, it's the first one of the year. We do target it quite a bit. We ended up with 12 horses out of that sale, which was fantastic, and there's sort of shares left in 2 of them, which is good. It means that they're selling down nicely, and the old man's over at New Zealand at the moment. At Karaka, we haven't struck a blow yet, but the sale just started this morning, and there's a few on the list there. So it's an exciting time of the year. It's where we restock the shelves and set up the future, so it's very exciting.
Calvin, just tell us a little bit about what it's like working with your dad as a combination. We see a fair bit of it in racing now, father-son combinations, brothers involved in the sport. there's many of our listeners that potentially couldn't picture themselves working with either their mum or dad or their partners or their brothers and sisters. You spend a lot of time with family already, so to then go to work and they're there again is I guess, daunting for some, but seems to work really well for yourself and Dad. Tell us a little bit about that relationship and how it works.
Yeah, for sure. Well, look, firstly, I think this day and age, with how much racing there is, it's never ending. It's 24/7. There's more and more meetings getting put on. And I think that, the workload needs to be spread a little bit. Obviously, back in the day, there wasn't as much racing. And look, Dad and I work really well together. Being a racehorse trainer is a lifestyle. It's not really a job. So it's not, you don't come home from work and switch off. And, it's still 24/7 and constant. But what I will say is, Dad and I, for the first couple of years of our partnership, I was sort of based in South Australia. He was in Melbourne, and then we swapped over. So now that we're just solely at Ballarat, it's really the first time that we've been able to help each other out and take a bit of the weight off each other's shoulders and spread the load, I suppose. And it's been working super. And I think, now he can go away to these sales and obviously not worry about doing the work list and all that stuff, which I now cover. So our relationship, I can't speak for anyone else, but our working relationship is very, very good.
You've been busy travelling all parts of Australia. You sent him down to King Island last week. You had that runner on Friday night, Macy Moon. Well, you would have thought it was home, wasn't it? And Bold Soul wasn't even going to run a place at one stage and just got off the canvas and gunned you down late.
Yeah, I can't imagine how short we would have been on the in-betting market on the turn, but our horse was gallant. He tried his heart out and ran probably to the best of his ability, and by goodness, the winner was extremely impressive when he knuckled down to the task. So it's going to be hard to turn the tables on him in the Derby, but our fella's now already listed place, and he'll run a nice race in a couple of weeks there.
Calvin, before we let you go this morning, anything there, our listeners up nice and early with us on this Sunday morning, well, they're all punters. Is there anything from your camp that the punters can get a few bucks out of over the next couple of weeks?
Yeah, I think we can win a race today at Geelong. Kentucky Nick runs in a 1.5 mile, benchmark 58. He's a pretty talented horse, and back down in grade, I think it's race 5. He'll run extremely well if he can put things together and do things right. So he's about $3 or $3.50 or something. Might be a good little Sunday bet for some people.
Well done, Calvin. Thanks for that. That is Geelong, race 5, number 1, Kentucky Nick at 3.10. Let's hope V8 can knock off the CF or the Futurity in the next month at Caulfield. Thanks for coming on The Aftermath.
Good on you guys. Thank you. Bye.
He's a ripper, Cal, and the horse. I like what they're doing with him because he's had that one go in the Guineas and he got sort of gunned down late, but you would have come away from thinking, did he really get the mile? But the way 1,200 yesterday first up, he looked like he needed every bit of it, didn't he, of the 1,200? So 14's going to be perfect, and then they can work out, do you go the mile or back to the 12? They're in a good spot with him, aren't they? They
are. It's nice to have options, as we touched on, and I think the fact that it is a blank canvas, I think it's sometimes we hear of different animals and sometimes trainers can be locked in with their thought process behind, no, this is exactly how it needs to be. I think it's great to hear that there's some flexibility there and let the horse tell you exactly what the right trip's going to be this time in, because they don't always come back preparation for preparation exactly the same as the prep prior. You know, sometimes horses as they get older look for that little bit further, and maybe that'll be the case with VA, but most importantly, the horses come back letting you know that it's in tip-top order, and I love the way that it really knuckled down over that last furlong to get the job done yesterday. Particularly, as he said, it had a bit of, it's got a bit of juice to come in the tank, only the one jump out. FA Cup overnight, Everton got beat by Luton Town 1-2, Leeds 1, Plymouth 1, Leicester 3 beat Birmingham 0, and Fulham 0, Newcastle United 2. You'd be happy with that. The Blades 2 beaten by Brighton and Hove Albion 5. So some of the major players in the fourth round of the FA Cup overnight. Don't you love it when a couple of the real lower division sides sneak through and get a boil over or two on the way through? You see some of the sides mentioned there. Plymouth Argyle and Sutton United, Bristol Rovers. So there's some of these sides that have been going around for hundreds of years, but struggling to have an impact. And all of a sudden, it's their moment in the sun. They get to take on a Premier League side or a Divi 1 side, and the fans turn up. And the bloke at the front gate, he's used to barely getting a few pounds out of the parking, and all of a sudden everyone's paying £10 to be parking in his backyard. He absolutely fills the coffers.
On Friday night, the big one, Spurs went down to Man City, 88th goal there to Man City, so it was 0-1 or 0-1 to Man City on Friday night. Hey, Chris Nelson joins us. Morning, Chris.
Morning, Marty. Morning, Shorty.
What about Switzerland in the first? 26 into about $15 for the Golden Slipper. Not sure what it is now, but it was a dominant win.
He's a beauty, and he ran up to what he did at the trials. Well, I don't know that he actually did. He was held back to them at the trials. He wasn't held back to them yesterday, but he still did one with a bit in the tank. I thought he finished out of the first two in both of those trials, but he was under no pressure whatsoever, and you knew that on race day, with all these big races coming up, that they'd be letting him go. And once they did that, or once the jock did that in the straight, that was the end of the story, and he was just so impressive. And there was a lot of improvement to come. About, what is it, Marty? I read this morning, a year since Shinzo pretty much did the same thing and then went on to win the Golden Slipper in the same colours.
Just like the way that this horse, once it got that split, it just forced its way through and was very, very committed late in the piece to just going on with it. There looks to be a fair bit there under the bonnet heading forward, Marty.
Currently into $8 now, second favourite behind Storm Boy, who's $3 to win the Golden Slipper.
We've just got a cracking 2-year-old season coming up in Sydney, haven't we? The Triple Crown and all these races. It's just going to be phenomenal. I mean, we all thought that Waterhouse and Bott had it all parcelled up with all their 2-year-olds, and then along comes Switzerland. So can't wait for the 2-year-old racing in the next few months.
Is there, I'll play devil's advocate. The second horse was at long odds. The third horse was at cricket score odds.
Yep.
Is there any question mark on who Switzerland beat yesterday?
Oh, look, I don't think so. Look, there was a couple behind those, Shorty. Russian Roulette's well in the market for the Blue Diamond, and probably, if not for a wide gate, would have been closer. And Deputise just probably got too far back. It had beaten Switzerland at the trials. So probably not going down that path as yet, but it's a fair point that you raised.
All right, let's move on to race number 4 on the program there yesterday at Randwick. Nash Rawiller, when the coin's on, Nash gets the cash. That was the case again there yesterday with Glory Days, defeated Redstone Well and Mahagoni.
Yeah, just a small field here. And look, Stonecoat led, and he was very disappointing first up, but they put the money on him yesterday. He was into $4. He led again, and he had a soft lead. The tempo to the 600-metre mark was very soft indeed, but he found nothing once again, and he ran last, so he's not going well at all. Glory Days was camped on him. He always looked to be travelling, and he certainly was just that around the turn. He took over and was in no danger. I thought the good run here was from Redstone Well. One of Annabelle Neesham's imports. The European form was won at 1,900 and placed at 2,150. This was a mile. So running on well against the tempo from last, it suggests that Redstone Well looking for further now. Just might get away with a race or two once it gets to maybe 18, 19, up to 2,000 metres.
Okay, race number 6 at Randwick yesterday. It was the Puissance de Lune, 5-year-old floating. He's been a bit of a disappointment at stud Puissance, but this horse won well.
He did, and look, he turned the tables on Louisville, who beat him last time out. He met him 1.5 kilos better at the weights, and he didn't have a lot of luck at that run last time. Louisville had all the favours, whereas Floating was out the back trying to weave its way through, and he did that. He went down by a small margin. He had the back of Louisville this time. He travelled a lot better on the home turn. He went past him at the 300-metre mark, and he was quite solid to the line. He arrived by just under half a length, but I think he had that race parcelled up probably at the 100-metre mark. The Bosch did well, probably close to a win. Aristonis was disappointing again in Louisville. Every possible chance. He's consistent, but he doesn't win too often, Louisville.
All right, and rounding it out with the listed Carrington Stakes, this was a tremendous performance from Zoo Tiger. Really put them to bed late in the piece, defeating Tamer Lane and Felix Majestic.
Yeah, the pace was pretty good here, Shorty. Felix Majestic led, ran along, set a good tempo, and Zoo Tiger basically sat second. Zoo Tiger had the measure of Felix Majestic early in the straight, livened up at about the 250, and then way too good, came away to score by 2.5 lengths. Good effort. I'd given up on this one. I thought his Group 1 placings were well in the rear view mirror, because he just hadn't done it. He'd had an operation. I thought he had every chance last time, but I got that wrong. Tamerlane was good. Sat 1-1, finished off okay. And Felix Majestic, well, as I said, he led Zoo Tiger. But he's probably just a little bit short of this listed level at this stage. So all honours with Zoo Tiger.
Up to the Sunshine Coast, the 2-year-olds went around in race number 2, and it was Elmore Zillow upsetting the favourite, Lead Me On.
Yeah, he's promising Elmore Zillow. Kelly Schweeder's got him. This was one of 4 winners on the day for CJ Graham. She really had a day out, the apprentice, so well done to her. Elmore Zillow, just too strong at the end of 1,000 metres for Lead Me On, who won on debut at the Gold Coast. Carried a lot more weight today, Lead Me On. Elmore Zillow had run a good placing behind Barbie's sister in a listed race, then went back to the trials and was always going to be suited late, and that's the case. Got home over the top, as I said, of Lead Me On. Goes to the Inglis Millennium over 1,100 metres in 2 weeks' time. I think a good run there. Shows a Sign, who ran third. Looked really good winning a Toowoomba trial over 650. 1,000, which is a bit too far on debut, would suggest we'll take a lot of benefit from that.
On to race number 5. This was the cutest 3-year-old handicap, and we went into the race with Bossed Up, a warm favourite, into $1.55 there yesterday, but was no match for High Bar. Mark Duplessis in the saddle went on for a really nice win.
Yeah, he seems to be a Sunshine Coast specialist, this bloke, High Bar Shortte. He's had 4 starts for 3 wins, and all 3 wins have been at the Sunny Coast, and the loss came at Eagle Farm. And that loss was behind Bossed Up. Now, he met Bossed Up 2.5 kilos better at the weights for a 3.3 length margin, but wow, he must have stripped a lot fitter off that December run, because he sat 3 wide up on the speed and he just put them away in the straight, and he looked to have a lot under the tank. Mark Duplessis certainly didn't get stuck into him, High Bar, so he's promising, but is he just a Sunshine Coast specialist? Well, we'll find that out as time goes on, but he was good, High Bar, and, well, you'd have to say he's worth following. Vindicta ran well, the maiden to only the 2 starts for Vindicta did well, running second, and Bossed Up just didn't have that same ping with the 59 kilos, so a little bit disappointing for the people that took the shorts, $1.60.
Now, race number 8 was the Sunshine Coast Cup. It was listed 1,400 metres, and Chris Lees and Andrew Mellion combined with Kinlock to get the money.
Yeah, this was set up for the backmarkers, Marty. They ran 21.33 between the 1,200 and the 800, and that's just about kills up on speed. Second, third and fourth ran last, second last and third last. Anything that was back in the field that got to the outside, which was the best part of the track, was going to figure in the finish, and that was Kinlock and S1, and Kinlock was just too strong. A similar tight win to that victory first up in Sydney, just ran home right over the top of them. Lovely ride by Andrew Mellion, got him into the clear at about the 250-metre mark. Jetty ran third, was game, was wide all the way, and the rest of them, well, they had no chance, and especially those ones up on the speed nearer the inside, they look to be going up and down in quicksand the last 100 metres or so. But the wide closers, well, they had this race, and the way it was run, that had to be the case.
Just quickly too, the horse that ran third in that race, Chris Jetty, worth having in your black book when they do race at the Sunshine Coast. This horse has got an excellent record when it goes around there at this particular venue, and is generally going around at pretty big prices when doing so.
He's a funny horse. He can miss the start and he can end up last, or if he jumps, he can go forward and lead. So he's very unpredictable where he ends up in his races. And yesterday out wide, you would expect him to fold up once they hit the straight, but he didn't. And as you say, Shorty, he just seems to relish racing at the Sunshine Coast. And look, we had a couple of failures there yesterday. Golden Boom was the notable failure. By the time you add in the humidity yesterday on the sunny coast, it was about 40 degrees. So I'd probably forgive any horse that performed below its best. But that one was a little costly.
Okay, so before we get to your horses to follow, one from the text line from Peter, which goes along that theme. Ask Chris why it's so hard to win at the Sunshine Coast. Looks a fair track, but I can never win there.
I know it's a tricky track because a lot of it depends on the conditions. If there's a bit of give in the ground, well, they just get straight off the fence. If it's rock hard, they stick to the fence. If the rail's out any further than, say, 8 or 9 metres, which it can be, you've got no hope of coming down the outside because that crown angles away from you down the straight. It feels like you're running uphill. So it's a very, very tricky track. You want the rail in the true position, go with a good track, and then you'll get everything perfect.
Sounds easy, doesn't it?
Well, I was going to say for your recreational punter, there's quite a few factors to have in the back of your brain box when you're doing form there, Peter, heading forward, it must be said. Chris, that's a very good analysis, though, from your good self, and I think a great insight as to the challenges of a tipster and a form student, because every place has got their own nuances, and Sunny Coast has certainly got a few lurks.
A lot of them.
Yes, indeed. And it's not the only track, it must be said, in Queensland that has punters scratching their heads from time to time.
Today. Cairns. What's going on there?
Anything at Lance Cairns for the punters today?
Cairns, yeah. Race 4, number 6, King Halo, and race 5, and run well. It's another one. I mean, Kansas, once you get past the soft 6, they just can't make any ground on the fence. But it's a good 4 today, so we won't have to worry about that.
So what was it, race 4, number 6, race 5?
Number 1.
Beautifully done, Chris. Love your work. Catch you again on Wednesday morning on the Sports Daily.
Look forward to it, guys. Have a great Sunday.
Sunday morning, we will do the talking on The Aftermath with Marty Young and David Shortte on Tab Radio Racing
and Racetrack Ralphy as well. Good morning.
Good morning, boys.
Great to be catching up with you, Ralphie. Another busy day of racing there at Moonee Valley yesterday. We'll go top to tail. Kicked off in the first with a nice win from Sox Nation. The punters teamed up with Acid Wash, who was a commanding winner at its prior start, but it had no answers for Sox Nation late in the piece, who ran away from Acid Wash the last furlong.
Absolutely right, Shorty. And how are you? Look, this is by its very nature a hindsight segment, and some of the fundamentals you've got to learn, I'll hopefully try and put across. That was an insane price, Acid Wash, and I'm not being hindsight in this because I've said so beforehand, but it won easily at Cranbourne off a walk, and it just dashed home for 100 metres. Now, its sprint was huge. It was fantastic. It showed promise, but, gee, you wanted to take odds on a horse like that, no thanks, and Sox Nation was nice and fit. I mean, they cleared out. I'm not saying it couldn't have won, but I am saying you've got to avoid taking odds on horses like that. So, nice work, the first 2, but, let's see, 4th run first prep for Acid Wash might be enough for now.
Favourites battled it out in race number 2, CR7, too good for Brooklyn Boss.
So here's a little exercise again, trying to use a bit of hindsight, trying to learn as well. What else do you think these two would have been if you had to swap riders?
Yeah. Jayla Kennedy, Damien Lane.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, so, and I reckon at about the 200, everyone said, that's why you don't take a short odds with a Pettis to be able to get back horse. But of course, she got the money. So good on her. Fantastic to hear. Darren Gadsby's been giving us some coaching. We put a black book on this horse at Geelong a couple of weeks ago, and its run was good there. It was good again to be able to run down Brooklyn Boss. Pretty sort of basic sort of summer standard though. But like I said, the dynamics to me was interesting as well as far as the market.
Indeed, and the timing was outstanding because Jayla Kennedy, obviously, it would be easy to be a little daunted when you're up against someone like Damien Lane who's been in hot form, but wow, the last little part of this race, CR7, she balanced the horse up beautifully and it really did smash that line late.
Yeah, 100%. Spot on, and just as an aside or part of that our discussion, Moonee Valley just could not have played. It was inch perfect yesterday. You didn't win, you weren't good enough.
That is for sure. We went on to race number 3, and it was Waterhouse, Bott, McNeil, very surreal. Oh, good ride this from McNeil, wasn't it? Pinch the brake. Yeah,
you got my notes there, absolutely. That was the difference between winning and losing. And, they make their own luck, Waterhouse, Bott horses. We know that. But I reckon, if you wait another 50 metres, Fire Vetna catches it.
Yep.
I expected Fire Vetna to run really well at Flemington, so the market, it was well backed and it was plain on the day. But its 3-year-old win was good. I don't think Danny Moore did anything wrong. I think it just went forward on a slow pace, whereas yesterday relaxed, better for that run, smashed the line. I think Fire Vet there in something similar, basic sort of race, but I think Fire Vet for Vetna is one we can black book for next start for sure.
Yeah, it looks ready to win again, that is for sure and certain. We moved on to race number 4 on the program, benchmark 84, and well, this horse, it's fair to say, had a few lurks last time out, the buck jumping and the likes, but yesterday Celine Gaudray was able to have Piaggio relaxed, and the horse finished the race off well, defeating Toronto Terrier and Belle Savoie.
Yeah, again, and good ride Toronto Terrier, nearly pinched it, but Piaggio back on track, and that's where you've got to sort of take into account what happened at Flemington when Typhoon Harmony beat it home, but you knew Typhoon Harmony was deep into its precedent, no improvement to come, whereas Piaggio did. Running by, I'm not saying can't run a mile, but Melbourne, Sydney, Melbourne, and, not knocking... you're going to be brave to take on Mar Eustace. So I just didn't want to take that short price yesterday because it was such a soft win at Manwick. It wasn't a real true time. It was yesterday that was more of a race. So pretty competitive sort of summer race. And as you said, Piaggio, beautifully ridden, got the money.
On to race number 5, and Anthony and Sam Friedman, they combined with Luke Curry here with Miss Tate getting the money over Lady Susan, and it was a tight go. Tango Jewel was back in third, not much between the first 3.
Yeah, I think this is just a basic sort of standard, but I think it's Damien Lane's number 1 at the moment in Melbourne. Luke Curry's number 2. He's just on fire. This also jumped out plainly, but you had to be careful about that because first up performances were pretty good last prep, and this again yesterday.
Moving on to race number 6 of the afternoon, the Travis Harrison Cup over the 2,040 metres. And John McNeil again to the fore here with Independent Road. Flash Feeling. Heard the interview pre-race there yesterday, and I thought that John Sadler was very complimentary in regards to where this horse is at, Flash Feeling, and I thought it ran accordingly. It was a nice performance. Finishing runner-up, Mystery Island was good back in third, and Mancayan finished in 4th spot. But Independent Road is certainly a horse that is nice and fit, and John McNeil used that to advantage yesterday.
Yeah, spot on, Shorty. And I tell you, it's almost a cliche, isn't it? But if you can't own a really good horse, this is the type of horse you want to own, isn't it? Independent Road. He just turns up, puts the mouthguard in, gives it all, and when he gets the right circumstance, he wins. I think there's a pretty strong benchmark 84. Again, I think the punters just lost their mind here. Man, Kane, it's a wet tracker. I mean, it's very well exposed. He's a beauty, but he's a wet tracker, and he ran past tied horses Boxing Day, and that was why he looked impressive. But I certainly didn't want to take the short chest. I think both those the placings there can be followed with a bit of confidence. I think Belle Savoie's in for she's back on track. She's in for a good prep.
Yeah, Mystery Island about to go jumping too for Jacko, so keep an eye on that once the jumping season starts.
Sorry, I've skipped ahead there.
Yeah,
apologies, I skipped ahead. But Flash Feeling and Mystery Island, they're both... Flash Feeling was a real sharp time when it won at Mooney Valley. I think there was a flat run last up, and then it was good yesterday. Mystery Island, I'm with you. That Warrnambool win was really good.
The 7th event over the Cox Plate journey, Akratiri. Now, Cindy Alderson pre-race was almost preempting this one to get to the next one. Surprised that, she'd be surprised if it won. Well, it certainly won. Led all the way.
Well, it did. And, you make your own luck in front. And so, complete hindsight, but could you have thrown it in? Well, a couple of them had convictions. I had 5 in the quad. He didn't have it. But it had a strong SP. Its win 2 starts back was okay, and then went back last start in a fast mile, and then yesterday goes forward in a slow 20-40. So that's how I pinched it. But, yeah, quaddie's confetti for a lot of us, including me.
Indeed. I feel your pain there, Ralphie. We move on to race number 8 on the program, benchmark 70. Mornington Glory for Bo Mertens, Too Good for Philosopher, and Tax-Free Profit. Yeah,
we put a big circle around it last week, Mornington Glory. And the thing that was its first go at 1,000, it was just dynamic. In fact, it was coiled Springham, Flemington, and same again yesterday. I think the market won the smash Philosopher on the Mooney Valley form and Damien Lane, rightly so. But I think they've got a beauty here. I wonder if they try and win the 55 bonus on that 55 meeting, because this horse, when he relaxes in those real short courses, we've only seen it twice, but he's just dynamic. So he's a beauty. Morning Glory, Croft and the boys, they're going to keep enjoying that.
Okay, the main event, the Australia Stakes, taken out by V8. We've had a word to Calvin McEvoy today. He's off towards the Ore and the Futurity.
Yeah, so interesting. It was good. South Court Tycoon, you want to be on it at Flemington and the 1400 lead into the Australian Guineas for sure. That's a big circle. Can he beat the likes of Alligator Blood and Mr. Brightside? I don't know. He's going to have a run ahead of him. A run advantage on them. And they'll be aimed at the All-Star Mile. And him being a colt, there's full incentive to try and win that Ore. So I'm not saying he can't win, but I'm trying to line him up with Pirelli in the next, which ran the same time. I want to put it this way. If you ask me who I'm more confident of winning next start, I'd say Southport Tycoon than V8. But he's a beauty, V8. Not knocking him at all, but I just think Southport Tycoon, 1400 from a Black Booker's perspective, that's the one we want to put a circle around.
All right, and Damien Lane, bang, bang to round out the program with Pirelli, Too Good for Belciel and Bellinger. Really well-timed performance here from Pirelli. A horse with a big engine, and we got to see that there yesterday.
Yeah, put a big stamp on him. I mean, he's got an amazing SB profile. He took a while to get gelded. He's just really come back unbelievable. Like I said, time was similar to V8. Belciel, Tassie next start, big circle around it, can win again there. And before I go, boys, don't let me go without saying about High Octane on Friday. I think that's the Blue Diamond winner. I think it's a real serious comp.
Really nice push there for the Blue Diamond with a high octane after that big performance on Friday night. Ralphie, appreciate your time as always here on the Aftermath. Enjoy your Sunday and look forward to our chat next week.
Good on you, boys. Always a pleasure.
Racetrack Ralphy at racetrackralphy.com.au.
On the Aftermath, it's time to introduce the 1985 Brownlow medalist from the Footscray Football Club, Brad Hardie. Introducing the boy from Hilton, the AFL guru, Brad Hardie.
Well, let's welcome along the great man, Bradley Hardie. It has taken quite a while to get the meatloaf out of the system, but last week in spectacular fashion. Very good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, Marty. Good morning, Shorty. And good morning, the mere peasants who may have followed me last week in the Sunday Saviour. I got an SMS, Shorty, from Ginger.
Yep, she was in
Marty's
Bali.
mother.
Yep.
In Bali, in the pool in a one-piece. And I'm not sure if it was a pina colada, but it certainly had an umbrella in the glass. I know that. So
Very nice. Well done to Ginger. And well done to you, Brad. Nice result there, $15.40. That certainly does cover a few rainy days, which is very nice indeed. And here we are, fast forward a week forward. Plenty been going on in the world of sport. The test match is interestingly poised. The West Indies, who many had written off, and it must be said there was very minimal expectation of them when they arrived on these shores, but they've given the Aussies a run for their money, and the Aussies are going to have to make sure that they switch on and get this run chase done before they put the win on the scoreboard.
Yeah, Marty and I were talking about it last week, Shorty, in regards to how we felt about the Caribbean or the Caribbean, whichever school you went to, and you know how the different islands used to hold the power, and how they don't pay them a lot of money anymore. Shorty, it's hard to retain those young talents over there, Marty, because they've got basketball, they've got scholarships, they've got all sorts of things tearing them away. But yeah, they've got some nice little green shoots there. There's no doubt about that. And just a couple of moments, you know, sport's about moments, isn't it? And when you're not the best team, and clearly the West Indies aren't, you need a little bit of luck going your way. What I refer to, Shorty, in that regard is in the first test with them. Obviously, we were 5 for, and we thought Travis Head was out by the DRS, but because the umpire hadn't given him out, we'd have been 6 for. He went on to make another 80, so that put the game out of reach for them. And then what about Carey? I mean, how did those bails not fall off those stumps the other day? It was just incredible. And again, we would have been 6 for 60 or something like that. So, yeah, they've done really well. So they've earned a lot of respect. There's no doubt about that. And Australia, well, from a parochial point of view, will go on and win today. But, yeah, they've made them work, that's for sure.
I think obviously Pakistan were good against Australia, and again, there probably wasn't massive expectation, but they really held their own despite not winning a test. They certainly pushed us at different stages. And this, I'll be honest, this test summer, I basically started yawning before the game started. But I think both Pakistan and the West Indies both came across here and made sure that there were some good moments throughout the course of the test summer. Now, just quickly too, there's a fortnight ago, we spoke about the Big Bash, and we raised the point in regards to how frustrating it was that we get access to these players and they leave for the Big Bash finals. Just looking at the paper today, Mitch Johnson has written a piece, Big Bash, fly in, fly out, imports hurt, scorches burnt, signing overseas stars who can't stay for the finals. Well, this is exactly what we were talking about 2 weeks ago.
Yep.
Yeah.
The tournament needs to find a way to keep these guys here for the games that matter. And the Scorchers, Laurie Evans was amazing. Zach Crawley played some really important innings, but when the big games were on, you need them to be here to, like, you'd almost prefer them to not be here during the season and be here for 2 or 3 games that matter than the other way around.
Yeah, no doubt. I think we all concurred with that. And, you know, it is really, really frustrating. And to lose our own Australian players, you know, Khawaja. It didn't matter in the end for the Brisbane Heat. They got the job done because they unearthed Brown and a couple of others. But, you know, the Khawaja and Labuschagne, who isn't in great form, by the way, either in the Test match series. So you get to a stage where, yeah, they've lost out as well. I agree with you, Shorty, but... You know, hopefully the scheduling can get a little bit better going forward. But there's so many, you know, different international schedules and shorter versions of the game and better money and the UAE, you name it. And, yeah, I agree with you on that. And I was just saying to the boys during the week, there was unveiled that the ACT were looking for a team of their own, standalone. And I said to Marty off air during the week and the boys on air that it looks as though it's on the table. It's not over the line. It's on the table, Shorty, that the Sydney Sixers and the Renegades might merge and be as one in the ACT. So that's something we'll keep our eye on going forward. Not over the line, but certainly on the table.
Okay, another test match underway at the moment as well. England playing India. England made 246. India replied with 436. And then England are 6 for 316 in the second dig off the back of Ollie Pope, who's not out 148. It's a good start to this series. What are your thoughts, David?
I have to give enormous credit to Ollie Pope here because outside of his innings here, I think England are pretty much, the game's over. But for him to dig in 208 balls, it's shown some significant concentration, and there's no respite when you play against India in these sort of games and conditions. The spin just keeps coming and coming, and they've only got they've got Siraj and also Bumrah there to sort of back it up. But Ashwin, Patel and Jadeja, they just keep coming and coming and coming. And these wickets where it spits up at you off a length. And Ollie Pope's just played with really nice, soft hands. And it's allowed him to not have that sort of jumpy reaction when the ball starts spitting. And he's been outstanding. The concentration levels have been magnificent. In the first innings, I thought Ben Stokes was excellent with his 70. India looked pretty comfortable at the crease, it must be said, for their 436. And importantly for them, some of their key players got some good time at the crease. Jaiswal with 80. We got to see Rahul with 86, and then Jadeja. This guy's probably one of the most underrated all-rounders in my lifetime. So you think all-rounders and the names come up like Kapil Dev and Imran Khan and Richard Hadley from years gone by. By the time this guy's finished Ravindra Jadeja, his numbers, when you look at his batting average and his bowling average, will stack up right up there with some of the best all-rounders in the history of the game, Bradley.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no doubt. And it's tracking along nicely. Just on our test match, Shorty, we have to say, Marty, that we were all in agreement, I reckon, that we were a bit concerned about the experiment. Well, they didn't call it an experiment, but Smith and Green at 4, Smith at opening, and it's only been a small sample, 2 tests now, but, geez, they need Green and Smith to go on with it today, Shorty, because they won't have egg on their face. They'll have the whole omelette. If they don't get this right, because, it has been a little bit dodgy, hasn't it? And we love Cameron Green, and we certainly, we know Steve Smith was and has been one of the greatest of our country, but, geez, I tell you what, they've got to get it right today, because even if one of them had a fired, Marty, but they both have sort of failed, and they're both sitting there precariously today, resuming at Tufa. I think the Australian selectors will be looking very, very, very wishingly that these two boys get the job done today.
Well, I tell you what, you talk about the luck of the series. The other point was losing Shamar Joseph last night.
Yeah,
like, if they'd have had him in that session last night, I don't think the score would be Tufa, because they've had to get Justin Greaves, who's not a part-timer, but he's their 4th bowler, to hold up an end in trying conditions to allow Roach and Joseph to bowl. And Greaves ended up getting a wicket. He got Labuschagne, who just one day, if he can get out and just walk, I'd be really happy. just walk, mate.
Yeah.
And make it swift.
Just go.
Smith are never out. Never out.
I've joked but honestly, if Shamar was there, I watched that whole session last night, that whole last session. I thought it was intriguing, and I really admired how the West Indian bowlers, in trying conditions, put their head down and did their darnest for the team, and had the Aussies scratching around like, old Scratcher Khawaja, the shuffler. Half the time, if he could just get a bat on ball, he'd be out more often than he's not. And Cameron Green, he just couldn't find the bat, couldn't find the ball. So,
Question without notice, boys. Look, don't want to put you on the spot, but the other glaring thing for me in this series is the slow over rate. Seriously, I mean, we've got to come up with something, Shorty, something radical, because finding them doesn't cut it. They make too much money. They don't care. Oh, well, we get fined. They've got to come up with something that makes it really, really important to keep the over rate up. It changed in about 79, Shorty. I reckon we went from 8 balls to 6 balls because Kerry Packer bought cricket pretty much and wanted more ad breaks, so more change of ends, etc. But, it's very, very slow. I'm of the opinion, Marty, that you attack the captain because he's the man who's got to keep everybody in line, and it just happens to be Cummins, who is a bowler, just sort of say, okay, if you do it once, okay, you get a warning. The second time, you're out.
Is it both teams? Is it both teams? Because the West Indies have always been slow.
It's the bowling team. The bowling team has the onus on them.
No, but I mean, in this situation, have both teams been slow, or has it been more Australia?
More Australia, more Australia, I reckon. So I think what they've got to do is, as I say, they've got to come up with a radical point of view, to say, listen, we're not going to accept this. It just takes too long. I mean, Cummins, unbelievably, yesterday was accusing the West Indies of taking too long at the drinks break. Which is fair enough, but the Australians have got to lead from the front as well. They've been the ones that have been transgressing more than anybody. So, what would you do, Shorty? What penalty could we give the team or the player or the captain or something to make them sit up and take notice? Because fining them doesn't work.
Well, I think what they do in the shorter version in T20 leagues around the world, if you don't have the overs bowled for every over that you don't bowl that you should do, you've got one less fielder you can have out. In this instance, maybe you make it so that the first ball of every over that you go over is a free hit for the batsman. That'd be a pretty decent advantage. If you miss by 8, basically you get 8 free hits for the batsman against good sides. That's up to 40 runs a day. You're getting extra for the opposition. It is radical though, because it changes the game, and then you're tampering with the fabric of the game and all of those sorts of things. I think it's one that's been on the agenda for probably 20 or 30 years, 40 years.
The West Indians always used to get
big time
warnings.
Takes so long. The other one that came up yesterday, guys, is really interesting with the Aussies in the field. They're really using this loophole. You get 15 minutes you're allowed to go off the ground
I didn't like this.
So the Aussies now, nearly all, especially all the quicks, they're going off for so-called toilet breaks, and they're using it right up to 15, 20 minutes, and then they pan up to the change rooms, and they're sitting in front of the old Allison fan, just feet up on the dashboard, while they've got old mate substitute fielding for them out there on the ground. That's not what that rule's there for. That's if you've got a legitimate toilet break, and all of a sudden these guys are having a quick shower, give yourself a bit of a freshen up, pop a new set of shoes on, new shirt on, you go out there feeling fresh. It's Test cricket. The name tells it to you. Test. It's meant to be a mental and physical test over 5 days. It's not when blokes are taking the P155 and putting the feet up on the dashboard in the change rooms. If I'm the West Indian captain, I would be going to the umpires and saying, hey, this rule is what it's there for, and right now they are abusing it. Step in and sort it out.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree with you more. As I say, they're pushing the envelope. There's no doubt, but they think they control cricket. That's the thing.
They certainly do. Now, I've got one here from Snoz. This is a beauty. Ask Brad, how strong is the move by Freo on Luke Beveridge if Justin Longmuir has a poor performance this year? I hadn't heard this one.
Oh, mate, it was on the front and the back page of the West yesterday. So I said, go down to Langley Park, Shorty, and you'll see a kid flying a kite. And there's probably several kids flying a kite. It's a great place to launch a kite. That's what it is. Look, it's, I've checked, and people are blaming the Bulldogs and Beveridge. It's got nothing to do. They are totally unaware. It's come out of left field. There's no doubt. Good luck to the journo. He probably thinks he's got something. There was no quotes in the article in regards to it. What I think they're doing, there's a loose tenure between Garlick, Boyd, Murphy, and obviously Beveridge. Beveridge's got 2 years to go. We eventually got Chris Grant moved sideways, which suggested would happen, and Matty Egan's taken over there. Everyone's happy, on the same page. I think Fremantle, what they are trying to do, and good on it, is just ramp up to Justin Longmuir and the playing group, Shorty. We cannot have another start like last year. We need some external, if we need to use external motivation, here it is. Boys, over to you. We need to get away to a flyer, and they are conditioning the members and the supporters, Marty, that if it did go pear-shaped, we know that. I think everybody knows that. If Longmuir has another year like last year, he'll be gone. No problem with that. But, I think they were just suggesting to the public of Fremantle that we won't stand for this. We'll be ready to move, so we're proactive. But, nothing short of flying a kite.
Okay, Tiger off the text line for Retrovision. D. Pike has put his stamp on things early as the West Coast coasters, who, let's face it, have been coasting for far too long, by putting a hold on negotiations with Liam Ryan, needed to be done.
Oh, yeah, that's for sure, absolutely. I mean, Liam is an extremely good player. He's a game changer. He's an X factor. He's all of those things. I saw him as possibly being a mentor to a lot of the Indigenous boys there. They've still got Tim Kelly as well to look after these young blokes coming through. He's got to get his body right. I mean, he just, when you can't be having soft tissue injuries. He's getting up towards 30s. He's 27, Shorty, I would think. You can't have these recurring. So, they're right in their own mind. Of course, someone will come along and try and grab him, but you've got to run that risk. You just got to take that risk at some time and start developing some of the young players to come in and usurp these guys, because this is what's happened with West Coast for far too long. They've been carrying, not so much Liam, but they've been carrying other players along the way way too long over their use-by date, and now they're feeling the pinch.
Brad, I think sometimes you have to be prepared to give something up to fast-track your future. And Hawthorn are the club that have done it so well. They've let Brownlow medalists and premiership captains leave the club with a year or two left on their playing careers and potential coaching. But what they have then done is freed up opportunities for the next generation of player to come through, and they've often received something back the other way that has allowed them to get higher up the draft order and things like that. And as a supporter, it hurts. Watching, imagine the Hawthorn fans when that Jordan Lewis left the football club and went to Melbourne, and you're going, what? How can we be playing against this guy? He's one of our club legends. I can understand both sides of it, and as a supporter, it hurts to see a club great go and play for another place. But if you look at the big picture, sometimes it's best for the long run.
Yeah, no doubt. And it's been going on for time immemorial, and you just got to pick the right time and the right players, as you say, Shorty. And, there's always going to be a loss. There's always an emotional, tag with them and all of that sort of stuff. But you've got to take risks in this caper. As you say, you can't trade clay and expect gold. It doesn't happen like that. And, for Hawthorn, that's the way they've explored it. It seems to be working okay. They've got a long way to go, and the proof's still in the eating, but they got maximum value out of those blokes you spoke about, and they put a few flags in the bank, and now they're trying to look to the future, because those blokes wouldn't have been part of the next premiership tilt, and that may be the same case, and is the same case at West Coast.
Now, we got a winner from last week's Sunday Saviour. It was Brendan, so Soph will get in contact with you, and there'll be a $100 Tab Touch voucher coming your way.
Brendan and me. Where's mine?
yours is in your account. I think, didn't you take that into account yesterday? Now, good morning. Khawaja isn't a shuffler. He's got one of the best techniques in cricket. Test Player of the Year, that's from Aswell. Well, I don't agree, but I don't know anything about cricket. I did say a few weeks ago I was lambasted on this program when I said I'd rather watch the West Coast of the West Indies and Pakistan, and my colleague at the time just said they're the worst team in international cricket. And I've got to say I've enjoyed watching the West Indies play. They've been terrific, absolutely terrific.
Full kudos to Khawaja for this, because he is getting runs. There's no doubt about that, Shorty. But what I will say about him, he's terribly, terribly clever. He's sitting back at the other end watching the carnage fall around him, and he's sitting on his bat. He's not looking to hit every ball off the square, and he's not trying to put the ball to the boundary every minute. You know, he's just sat back and grafted his way through, and while everyone's falling down around him, Marty, he's just chiseling away, grafting his way up in excess of 50 on most occasions. So, yeah, he's played it pretty smart.
And that's fine. You need a opening batter who does that. You can't
I think most combos need a sheet anchor. But this is a really interesting point that you're making, because while you can afford to have one sheet anchor, the way that Test match cricket is played today, you can't afford to have two sheet anchors. And I still think that's what potentially has gone against Cam Bancroft, because while he has got the runs on the board and he's done a great job, he's not necessarily naturally the fastest scoring player out there. And so I think Australia have really looked to have someone that's quite aggressive up the other end, and Steve Smith fits the bill. And I think the chase for that next opening partner for Usman Khawaja, they'll probably always err on looking for someone that's more attacking rather than defensive, knowing that Usman Khawaja is that little more defensive player. So that's going to be interesting to see what they do. Yeah, and with Steve Smith, Brad, if he doesn't get the runs today and chase these down, where does he sit in his role in the team? If he fails here, is he out of the team, or do they just go, no, it's okay, Steve, we'll just slot you back down to number 4 now, find a new opener, and we'll ditch someone else out of the team?
He'd have to move sideways, Cameron Green, would he? Drop back
last in, first out.
Hey, well, it puts more pressure on Mitch and Cameron, no doubt about that. They're trying to obviously go with 2, but they might have to shuffle on 1. But you're right. But I still think Cameron Bancroft's terribly, terribly hard done by, because Khawaja, let's face it, as solid as he's been, I mean, I think we all anticipate in a year's time that it's probably going to change, you know, like maybe after the Indian series. And that's why sometimes you've got to speculate. We just spoke about Hawthorn before. You know, you've got to speculate for the future, because when we know Warner's gone, and that's a tick, and hopefully in the not too distant future Khawaja can retire gracefully, well, you need somebody coming through, and I think he could have been, and Bancroft could have, with the opportunity. Everybody wants to look in the rear-view mirror and say, well, he's already had 10 goes. Well, that was 3 years ago. So, you know, he's a better player now. He has scored a 70, Shorty, as you say, in the shorter version of the BBL. That's not the be-all and end-all, but at least he's shown a propensity to be able to do it. He would have been the guy that could have been that sheet anchor role going forward when Khawaja's not.
Brad, we've got to get moving for Retrovision Lunch 1, 2, 3 What about a Sunday Saviour?
Don't forget, Morton's got a $400 gift voucher on any air conditioner, Fujitsu, you name it. Go in there. It's the give back, which is really good till February the 4th. We're going to do it again today, Marty. Grafton Race 2, number 3, Shorty. Bravely will take the interest there, boys. $1.50. Geelong Race 3, number 9. I never think I'd ever back this, but United Kingdom, $1.75. Wyong Race 6, number 1, Firestar, just a lock, $1.65. And we'll come home with Strathalbyn Race 7, number 3, second to none. That's in as the church. $3.40 on fire, going for 4 on the bounce. $1.50 for Bravely, $1.75 United Kingdom, $1.65 Firestar, $3.40 second to none, Marty, $14.72. And Ginger, we staying up in Bali for another week.
Bradley, just start that Wyong one. I just missed that on the way through.
Wyong Race 6, number 1, Firestar.
Fire start.
65.
Beautifully done. So we've got Grafton 2-3, Geelong 3-9, Wyong 6-1 and Strathalbyn 7-3 for the Sunday Saviour. Beautifully done, Bradley, and a big thanks to Morts and, of course...
And the Nude Nut.
The Nude Nut. And let's not forget Frankie. He's one of my favourites too.
Yeah. Frankie Lee at Ross's Oxers, particularly on a Friday. We love a little bit of a bottle of red on a Friday. Don't worry about that.
Bit of Vino Tinto. Thanks, Bradley. There he goes. Brad Hardie can catch him again on the Sports Daily Monday, Tuesday and Thursday. Time to talk Rugby Union World Rugby 7 Series, which is going on here in Perth. And Jono Lance is joining us. A very good morning, Jono.
Morning, guys. Thanks for having me. It's been an exciting few days. We've got day 3 coming up today, so the biggest one yet.
All righty. Jono, fill us in. Those that have missed it on the way through, what have been the highlights from the first couple of days?
There's been plenty of ups and downs for the Aussie fans. Both the men and the women had a loss early, a bit of a scare, but they've managed to come good, and both teams are through to the Cup semi-finals today. The fans, I'm sure there's a fair few fans you could talk to who haven't seen too much rugby. There's a lot going on there. There's the beach club out the back. There's the food and the park and the DJs. The shed at the north end of the stadium's been packed for most of the weekends. But yeah, I played a year of sevens and travelled the world doing that, and Perth's really set the tone. It's been an unbelievable weekend so far. But as I touched on, day 3 today, heading into the big final matches, it's going to be a cracker.
Jono, I drove past there on Friday on the way to work. I live around that area. It was packed. I could not believe the amount of traffic going on around the ground. And as you said, you could pick up the vibe driving past. So no doubt if you haven't been down there, this is a good chance to go today. The Aussies, are playing Fiji, who are favourites, $1.67. Australia at $2.14. This game to go at about $1.34. Can we win it?
We can definitely win it. The Aussie team has been pretty consistent the last sort of 12 months. They've had a few good wins against Fiji. In saying that, though, sevens is their national sport, and having experienced it and having watched plenty of it, if Fiji are on, they're pretty tough to beat. So we need to play our best game of footy, and we almost need them to just be off a little bit. But our fitness, our speed and our skill, but mostly our defence the first 2 days has been really impressive. And then for the women, they had almost their grand final yesterday with how the draw panned out. They versed New Zealand in the quarterfinal. So they've won that. It's about setting themselves up again to go for a semi-final after arguably playing their biggest game of the weekend yesterday in the quarters.
Yeah.
Jono, tell us a little bit about how you get involved in the sevens. We know, obviously, rugby's a massive game and the likes, but this is an adaptation of it. What draws people away from other forms of rugby to get involved in the sevens, and how big is it here in Australia?
I think body shape, to be honest. Sevens is probably one of the hardest sports you'll ever play. It's 2 7-minute halves. You're going at 80% plus for most of the game, and if you watch a sevens match, when full time goes, most of the 14 guys on the field lay on their back for about a minute. So you need to be extremely fit, agile and fast. I think to get into it, it's the same pathways, it's the rugby pathways, but when you start beating a lot of guys with your footwork at the age of 16, 17, a fair few people now will say, oh, you'd be good at sevens, but then it's also the Olympic dream. There's plenty of guys, obviously rugby a bit bigger on the East Coast. You get to that age of 17, 18, you watch an Olympics and then you find out you can go there for rugby. That's a massive cherry. Not many people get to say they're an Olympic athlete, and the guys and girls in the Aussie team this year, they've got 6 months till Paris. So it's a pretty exciting time for them, but also cutthroat. They can only take a certain amount of guys. So I think I saw a lot of young fans there yesterday from Perth watching the tournament, and I reckon there's a fair few 12 to 14-year-olds at home this morning saying, I want to play rugby, I want to play sevens, because I want to go to the Olympics, but also these guys travel the world for a year. They've got tournaments in LA, Hong Kong is massive, Singapore, Canada, Scotland, Madrid, France. So it's a pretty exciting year the guys have.
Is it franchise based, similar to what we see with the IPL and the Big Bash and things like that, Jono? And is it lucrative?
For the guys playing, it's definitely lucrative. Is probably not the word I use. Lucrative to explain IPL. The guys they're all right. They're going good. But it's definitely, I suppose, that cherry of going to the Olympics as well is massive. A lot of the guys naturally are a bit younger, so you play a good few years of sevens, and then a lot of guys will head to that Super Rugby. For the women, though, it's the pinnacle. I would argue that the women's sevens team is Australia's best sporting team and has been for quite a while. They won gold in Rio, have won the last 4 tournaments. And I think Perth's really taken to it. Unfortunately, I'm pretty sure today's a sellout, so there was 16,000 there yesterday, there was 11,000 there Friday, and I reckon all the people who've been there have gone home, told their mates, and today's sold out, so it's going to be a huge day.
Gets underway at 8 minutes past 11. Great Britain are playing Canada, and the final game for the men of France playing South Africa at 3:20. The women are $1.14 to finish on top in their series, so it's all positioned for a great day there for Rugby Sevens. Jono, thanks for coming on the show today, and enjoy it.
No worries. It's been really exciting to see the Perth community get around it. As I said, I played here sevens, and the tournaments you play in, you go to some pretty cool places that have, like Hong Kong, I mentioned earlier. Hong Kong, they get 45,000 every day, and it's absolutely chaos. So for me, living in Perth and spending a lot of time here, and obviously there's been some stuff with rugby while I've been here at the Force and all that, to see a packed HBF Park today is going to be very exciting, and it's great to know that Sevens could be in Perth for plenty of years to come.
Jono Lance, ex-Western Force, ex-Sevens champ. He's joined us on the Aftermath. Thanks for that. We got a special guest joining us, Courtney Walsh. A very good morning.
Yes, good morning, gents. I'm hoping that all of you are well over there.
Going beautifully, thank you, Walshy. And many of our listeners have been firing through their thoughts to the SMS Retrovision line this morning, because you tipped us into Yannick Sinner at the start of the tournament, and it was an amazing semi-final, it must be said. I think many at that stage were biting fingernails thinking, Sinner's up against Djokovic here. It's going to be awfully difficult for him to progress to the final. But what we saw was a very, very confident young man that took it up to Novak and walked away as the victor, and now heads into this final ready to roll and very hard to beat. The Tab Touch market has Sinner 136, Medvedev 320, game line at 4.5, and total games at 38.5.
Yeah, look, he's not there yet, but if he can play the way he's played the entire fortnight, I think he'll be very, very hard to beat tonight. He was exceptionally good against Djokovic. He returned almost flawlessly from the backhand court. He served so well, went under pressure, and the way he moves around the court, he glides from one side to the other. He's playing exceptional tennis, and I think, look, for the last couple of months, he's probably been the best player on the planet. He's beaten Novak now 3 times in their last 4 outings, and if you can do that, well, that for me says that you're playing better than anyone. And tonight he probably has a chance to confirm his credentials as one of the couple of rising stars of the game.
Interesting to see the head-to-head against Medvedev. It's Medvedev's way, but in the last calendar year, I think Sinner holds the advantage.
Yeah, look, 6-3 in Medvedev's favour. He won the first 6 outings. The last 3, all dating back to the Beijing Open in early October, have fallen Sinner's way. They've been tight, like it hasn't been one-way traffic, but his ability to hit the spot on the serve in particular, you see where Medvedev stands when returning serve, and it tends to be a long way back, but Sinner can find angles which make it harder for Medvedev on return. So, look, it'll be interesting to see, because Medvedev's a warrior. He's got the cunning of a rat. He's got great nous, and he finds a way to win, as he's shown the entirety of the tournament. But when you look at it, he's played more than 20 hours. Sinner's played about 14. It's about the equivalent of 2 extra matches Medvedev has had to play to get to this stage. And I just wonder, when you go up against someone red hot, whether that's going to be too much for the Russian. The only caveat being that it is Sinner's first Grand Slam final, and we know that nerves can sometimes play a factor in that case.
That said, if you were going to get nervous, semi-final time against Novak Djokovic is probably as close as you're going to get to a moment that you have the potential to really choke up. And I thought, to his credit, he handled that moment no problem at all. And it's fair to say, I think you just nailed it when you said he's beaten Djokovic the last three but it's the ultimate examination of your game, taking on the man that has dominated world tennis over the last 4 or 5 years. So he's come through that in pretty good shape off that semi-final win.
No doubt, and there's another factor there that suggests that he'll be able to handle that big stage, and that's, look, the Davis Cup is not what it was. You're no longer playing in front of a home and away audience, but it still matters a lot to the players, and he ended a drought dating back to 1976 in part by beating Djokovic from 3 match points down in the semi-finals, and then absolutely rolling through Alex de Minaur in the final. If you can win a Davis Cup final, that's a pretty big stage for your nation. I think that helps. The other thing is, you look at the people in his corner, and Djokovic touched on this after the semi-final on Friday night when he said Darren Cahill's been there and he's helping him with the mental side, and he's helped former world number ones, Hewitt, Harlep, Agassi, all the way to the top to win Grand Slam titles. I'm pretty sure we'll see a number 4 in this occasion with Sinner.
All right, what about the women's last night? It was Sabalenka, far, far too good for Zheng. She looks like she's now got the self-belief in her game, in her power, in her mental strength just to continue on with it now.
Look, I think so. She has actually become a remarkably consistent player in terms of performance. To make the Grand Slam semi-finals in her at least the semi-finals in her last 7 slams, to win a couple, to be in another final, and then to 8 of the last 10 times she's made the last 4. It's exceptionally consistent, sort of, in terms of results. She plays with such power and aggression, but what she's added in the last sort of couple of years is a little more subtlety to the game as well. She doesn't have to go full power every single shot. She can ease off the throttle a little bit. She served very well. That was a major issue a couple of years ago when she had a bad case of the yips. It's now just a phenomenal weapon, and she was outstanding to win a Grand Slam, an Australian Open, without dropping a set. Well, the 4 that have done that this century are Barty, Williams, and Lindsay Davenport. It's pretty good going to be in that company.
There's some nice names that you've mentioned on the way through there, and you raise a really good point. To not lose a set, it takes amazing durability to be up and running and concentrating to a good level right the way through. We often see even the absolute top level players just switch off for 15, 20 minutes at some stage of a tournament and drop a set. To go right through and not lose a set is a really good highlight of exactly where she's at, how focused she is at the moment. Marty and I were talking a little bit about it earlier on today, Walshy. At the moment, women's tennis has been, for the last, since Serena basically, and then Ash sort of took over for a little patch, but since then the game's screaming out for a player to put their hand up and say, I am the big dog on campus, I'm the one you need to beat every time there's a big tournament on. And is Sabalenka the one to maybe put that hand up over the next year or two and say, I'm going to be the absolute gun of the sport for the next little patch?
Look, I think she has all the attributes to do that. It's just whether she can hold the head together, and that has been a little issue in the past. But I definitely think so. And you look at her record last year, she wins the Australian Open. She's in a dominant position in the semi-final of the French Open, but gets run down by a very good player in Carolina Makova. She was in a strong position against Ons Jabeur in the Wimbledon semi-final, but got run over. Coco Gauff, she's leading a set and a break in the US Open final. So she's been in good positions and hasn't quite finished it off elsewhere. But I just feel that she's coming into her time at 25. This is when it'll all start to come together for her. We've seen it in Melbourne. As I said, she didn't drop a set this year. She only dropped 1 set last year. Swiatek is an interesting one for mine because, look, you look at her record and you talk about that dominant number 1. There was a period where she won 38 odd matches in a row. She has won 3 Roland Garros titles. She's won a US Open. She's been a very strong number 1, but she hasn't delivered in Australia. She hasn't been able to deliver at Wimbledon. I think Sabalenka's got the tools to be able to win on all three surfaces, where I'm not so sure that the Polish champion does. So, yeah, I think she's capable. But someone like Coco Gauff, we talked about that semi-final being a really critical match. And Gauff, for mine, she's still only 19. She beat Sabalenka in that US Open final. She was very good the other night. You know, it was a near-run thing. If she, love 30 or so at 6-5, if she wins that point, you don't know if Sabalenka's going to go through and actually win the title. So Gauff is a real challenger for mine. But no, Sabalenka's, at the moment, I think the best player on the planet.
What about for Zheng? She had a terrific tournament. I know she sort of got through without playing any of the top-ranked players, but she's got a good future ahead of her.
I think so. I think we talked about her being perhaps a roughie a couple of weeks ago. Yes, she didn't play a top 50 player before making the final, but those players she's beating, it's one of those ones where those players she's beating are beating good players. So, it can be a little misleading, that statistic, because, those players are clearly in good form to keep winning and to get to the stage where they get to in terms of tournaments. For mine, I think she'll win one somewhere in the next couple of years, be it 2-3 years, because I think she's that good. I think she's an exceptional competitor, and you look at her results in the last 6 months, and you think, well, she's put herself deep into big tournaments. She won an Asian Games gold medal, and there were periods last night where she was pretty decent against Sabalenka. She was able to go with her for a period. She's only 21. Sabalenka's 25. I do feel we'll see the best of her in the next 2 to 3 years. I think she's still maturing as a player, both physically and mentally, learning how to play the game, and she's still making finals. So I think that she'll be okay. I reckon she'll be a major force for years to come.
Walshy, you've been outstanding here on TAB Radio right throughout the course of the Australian Open. We really do appreciate your work. Final prediction for today: Sinner wins in how many sets?
Look, I think he wins in either 3 or 4. If he plays the way he's been playing, I can't see Medvedev being able to go with him. But there is the caveat to the final, but I would think 3 or 4 sets.
Okay.
Love your work,
and
Walsh.
The good thing about it, if you'd back Sinner, you just crunch back on Medvedev. You can't lose. Beautifully done. All the best, Courtney, and we'll listen in tomorrow morning for your wrap on the Sports Daily.
Absolute pleasure, gents. Have a great day.
He's a ripper now. NBA results from today. Washington 118 beat Detroit 104, but the big one, Knicks gave it to Miami. They're in a real rut at the moment, the Heat. 125 New York beat Miami 109, and that game that's on at the moment, I'll just update that. It's nip and tuck. It is a nip and tuck between Philly and Denver, 64-62 at halftime in that match. The other game on at the moment, Nets have got the Rockets well and truly covered, 47-19 in the second. About to take a break, Shorty, but...
Did you see how many points? There have been 2 or 3 players drop 70-plus
did
games.
73 yesterday.
Unbelievable. The solo scoring performances in the NBA over the last 10 days or so has been unbelievable. Then a number of players dropped 60-plus. I tell you what, just go down the local court today and try and score 60 points worth, and these guys are doing it with guys defending them the best in the world. Unbelievable athletes.
From 5. Blah, blah, blah. Let Marty Young and David Shortte do all the talking on the Aftermath. Sunday morning at its best on Tab Radio Racing and Sport.
Time to talk NBL action with Chris Pike. Good morning, Pikey.
Yeah, hi guys. Good to be with you, and nice to be chatting again after another good Wildcats performance.
Absolutely. It was tremendous there. A great bounce back because it must be said, one of their flatter performances on Thursday night there in front of their home crowd against Illawarra. But the bounce back factor there yesterday, granted, against moderate opposition in southeast Melbourne, who have been struggling in recent times, but the response was instant. I think their defensive intensity was cranked right up very quickly. And the other thing that was very noticeable was that after a very poor showing on the rebounding side of their game, they managed to straighten that up big time there yesterday.
No, spot on, Shorty. Full credit to the Hawks for what they did in Perth on Thursday night. They came with a game plan. They wanted to double and triple team Bryce Cotton and just deny him the ball, and that worked a treat. And they were able to get going offensively as well. And probably, in fairness, the Wildcats defence wasn't as switched on as it has been in that game on Thursday night. And then, I guess no matter the opposition last night, when you're dealing with a short turnaround. So you're playing Thursday night, you travel all day Friday, you have to get up to play on Saturday in Melbourne. It's not easy. And, I mean, it's a South East Melbourne team missing. You take out Mitch Creek and they're probably missing their 5 best players. And, you know, on Thursday night they managed to beat the Sydney Kings. I mean, you couldn't afford to take them lightly, but they came out on a mission from the start and they set the tone defensively. And I think that was important. And like you said, they crashed the boards. They didn't want to lose the rebound count again. And then Alex Sarr comes in and makes a massive impact as well. And to have that rim protector and just to be denying guys at the rim and making it tough for guys to come into the paint was important. And then they did enough offensively to get back to scoring 103 points. I mean, that's, 6 of the last 7 games now they've scored 100 points. It was down on Thursday against Illawarra where they only managed 77. But, yeah, this was back to the basketball they have been playing and basically pretty much now locked in a top 2 spot. So it was an important win to get.
Yeah, and they shared that scoring around, didn't they? It wasn't all Cotton this time. Pinder was very good from outside the arc a few times as well.
Yeah, he doesn't mind getting up the outside shot. He was aggressive at both ends, so he set the tone defensively as well. And then, when he's active offensively, there's very few guys in the league that can stop him. He's powerful. He's explosive. He loves to get up and dunk the ball, and he does have an outside shot. I mean, yeah, he had a very impressive game, and he's really. I mean, we were talking about him last year before he got injured and had his troubles in Cairns late in the season and ended up missing the back end of the season, that he was an MVP candidate. He was probably one of the top 3 players in the league, and he's still capable of doing that. I mean, he's just on a team right now where he's not the number one focus like he was in Cairns, and when you've got Bryce Cotton, you can understand why, but he's capable of doing a lot of things, and he's really, really tough to stop. And when you can have him and Alex Sarr, splitting that role as the big man, it's a very nice weapon to have right now.
Most definitely. Pikey, just 2 things I want to get your thoughts on. Alex Sarr, this young man, touted to be the number 1 draft pick in the NBA. This was, for me, his biggest game. So he's played 18 minutes and 30 seconds, so still shy of half of the game. 18 points, 5 block shots, if you do not mind. Now, this to put it in perspective for people that don't follow basketball a lot, to get 2 block shots in a game is generally a pretty big deal. To get 5 in a half of basketball is just ridiculous, and it gives us a great idea of what this young man is going to be capable of heading forward and why the raps are on him. And I also just quickly want to get your thoughts. Christian Doolittle, we talked about last time I spoke to you, he went off with concussion protocols. He then missed a game or 2, and he's come back a little bit flat. A few people have come out and given him a clip. I would say just give him another game or 2. I think he is suffering a little bit from potentially a little fatigue from that concussion break that he had, and I would expect him to fire up heading towards the finals. He's been good more often than not. Just give him a game or 2 to find his feet again post that little mini break.
Yeah, totally agree on Christian Doolittle. I mean, in fairness, he probably came back a little bit early. I mean, in an ideal world, he probably doesn't play that game in Sydney last week, and I mean, I know he wants to play, and I know that they want him to play, but yeah, maybe just a bit of extra time at home would have helped. But yeah, I mean, he's been so important to them. He does so many things. He's probably the best defender on the team. He's very, very calm and collected when he's got the ball in his hands, so he'll be fine. But Alex Sarr, I mean, if anything, last night what he did was confirm himself as the number 1 NBA draft pick. I mean, for a guy who's 7'1", he moves like a guard. He can defend these smaller guys out on the perimeter, and then if they come anywhere near the paint, he's going to block their shot. I mean, I felt sorry for Ben Eyre, the Southeast Melbourne point guard, because every time he went near the paint, he's pretty crafty, but he just got his shot blocked from every direction. And he said after the game he didn't even know Alex was there, and then he looked back and all of a sudden his shot was blocked. I mean, for a guy to have that sort of, when he's got the natural gifts, but to also have the basketball IQ and the understanding and the timing to block these shots, it's incredible. So you're right. I mean, 5 block shots. Most teams don't average 5 block shots a game as a whole team, and for him to get that in one game, and then he's got the offensive tools. I mean, he can shoot for a 7-footer. He can dunk around the rim. He's got absolutely everything, and it's amazing to see. I mean, it's an amazing thing that we're lucky enough to be seeing a guy that's going to be, no doubt, the number 1 NBA draft pick, and he'll be an NBA superstar for the next 15 years. So a hell of a treat that we're getting to watch him right now.